there's big stuff coming. What it reminds me, I've kind of just had this thought here recently because I was really early on with the whole fracking thing, mostly because of my exposure with the pipeline. And as I was going to these research events with the pipelines back in 2005, 2006, 2007, they started talking about this fracking revolution, which kind of came out of nowhere. And over that period, let's say the last 15 to 17 years, the United States has basically created two and a half Saudi Arabias between the oil and the natural gas. It's truly one of the greatest energy miracles ever. And I look at and that was considered to be kind of a dead industry, at least in the United States. We were considered to be tapped out and have to rely on foreign suppliers. And that's kind of the perception of the U.S. nuclear industry today. It's basically shot. And I think it's going to get a great shot in the arm. And there's just so much evidence of that. And yet you hear this key ingredient, which continues to trade, well below where it was 15 years ago. Now, 15 years ago was kind of a spike high, maybe a bubble high, but adjusted for inflation, this is a very low price. So anyway, do you want to add anything to uranium, or do you want to move on to one of your other favorite commodities like palladium?
No, well, I think there's like some fascinating points in what you just covered, and the fact that like it's kind of a sad history that we selected light water reactors purely because of the Navy. It was what the Navy wanted. That's where the funding went. And the molten salt, even though it was promising coming up 50 years ago, it just got sort of shelved. And it's so much more like removes pretty much all the objections, sort of the meltdown risk. You put them anywhere, you can make them quite modular. If you factory manufactured, like mass manufactured them, it is like the next step in a sort of energy density evolution. Like I kind of always say the way to think of energy density is just look at the history of shipping, which is so went from sort of rowboats to sails to then like steam power, then bunker, and then obviously ended up with nuclear and military ships. And can you imagine going back to like sails, which is what we've essentially tried to do with our energy policy, like
The renewables.
revert from nuclear back to wind turbines and solar. And it's when you lay it out like that, like we've even had some examples, the likes of the Australians, they were trying to put diesel motors in their submarines and spent a silly amount of money on it before finally admitting like it was just a massive waste of money and time, because like a diesel submarine is no match for a nuclear submarine. And so they've had to rejig the whole policy. But I like your analogy as well of the sort of fracking revolution, because I do. One point that I've been looking at is the fact that not only do you sort of have the amount that got brought on, like we essentially the US brought on two Saudi Arabia's worth of energy in terms of bringing on oil and then the gas with fracking, and you almost had a similar circumstance play out with Kazatomprom with their ISR mining, just bringing on massive amount of uranium very quickly, but that comes with quite a steep decline. And always been back in my mind, the only way you kind of you counter that is you have to produce a whole lot more. You have to move up with energy density, and as you say, like the new technology that would do that would be something like a small modular reactor that can run at a far higher efficiency. Like I've seen a lot of these SMRs, they're talking about current utilization is only sort of 1-2% with a lot of the sort of the operating reactors today, and some of these small modular reactors are absolute multiples of that, and they can even run on waste. And so it's just a step
Exactly.
change.
That's a really critical point.